Hi, welcome to the first video in my Disabled in America series. Now I've been disabled for almost 20 years now, and this series is all about spreading awareness of what that actually means. Presently, there are roughly 61 million Americans who are living with a disability. Now that doesn't mean that there are 61 million Americans who are drawing disability, because a good portion of that number are the elderly, who are already drawing Social Security or retirement. And it makes sense when you think about it. The older you get, the more debilitated you become. So of the 61 million Americans who are disabled, only about 10 million of them are actually receiving disability benefits. So this begs the question of, what does it mean to be disabled in America in the first place? And that's a bit of a loaded question, because while there is a list of qualifying conditions out there, having one of these conditions doesn't axiomatically mean that you're going to qualify for disability. And if that sounds confusing to you, then I think the government is successfully doing what they set out to do in the first place. But let me explain. When you apply for disability, on top of signing a release form for any medical records that you think are going to help your claim, you also need to be evaluated by a specialist of their choosing. That specialist will do an evaluation, and that will be a very large factor into whether or not you receive benefits. And what they're looking for isn't just some one-word diagnosis. They want to know how your condition negatively impacts your daily life. How does it impact your ability to make a meaningful, consistent income? You can't just walk in and say, I have anxiety, give me disability. Because a lot of people have anxiety, if not most people. But there are levels of anxiety. There is the normal level of anxiety that we've all experienced that I used to have. And then there is an extreme level of anxiety that cripples you. So it is that consistent, meaningful income that is the most important thing to them. And it is the thing that is going to stick with you through everything you experience. If this YouTube channel were to somehow explode overnight and I start making $2,000 every month, and that were to continue on for 9 months consistently, even though my diagnosis wouldn't have changed, even though nothing about my situation would have changed other than the monetary aspect, I would still get booted off of disability. But right now, I want to talk about the notion that people fake being disabled for that sweet, sweet payout. While I'm sure this has happened before in the history of humanity, it is not some deep, profound issue that some people like to make it out to be. And I'm gonna break down why it's not. First of all, as I stated before, you have to go through quite a bit to get on disability in the first place. That includes numerous evaluations by qualified medical professionals who are already looking for you to be lying to them. These are trained PhDs who probably hate you by default. Second, and you'd think this would be more obvious to people than it is, it can take years between the point you apply for disability and when you even see that PhD, let alone beyond that, for you to actually start receiving disability benefits. In the meantime, you are going to have bills. These bills pile up. And much like the notion that people are just sitting around right now not working, that's not really an option when you actually think about it. Can you afford to sit around and not work? No, no one can really. There's a reason why we get jobs in the first place, is because we have bills to pay. And that's one of the ways that I think they weed out a lot of the people who are trying to scam them, is if you have the ability to go back to work, if you're faking it, you're going to go back to work because you have no option in the matter. You need money. You're not getting it anytime soon. And finally, disability is not that great. Yeah, you might call me a bit of an ingrate for saying that, because it beats starvation, right? It beats homelessness. And you'd be right, except for the times where you're still starving and you're still homeless. Now, I have to be 100% real with you right now. There have been points in my life where if it weren't for family bailing me out, I would have been starving or homeless even though I had been on disability. When you look at the homeless population in this country with any kind of discerning objectivity, you notice how many of them are disabled, how many of them are actually receiving disability benefits. So you have to come to the understanding that just you receiving disability does not remove those things from the list of possibilities that you may be faced with. So when you factor those things in, and the fact that disability pays less than minimum wage, and take into account that there are a lot of roadblocks in place when you're on disability that prevent you from getting the ball rolling on any other kind of financial venture, any kind of investments or anything like YouTube or an Etsy store or anything like that, you quickly come to the understanding that disability is not that great of a thing unless you absolutely need to be on it. So I'm going to be diving into the fact that it is a underfunded social program that can save your life, but comes with it social stigma, financial insecurity, and ultimately a lack of fulfillment in life. And hopefully I can cover a few things in this that'll actually be legitimately useful things for you to know if you are disabled or if you have a child that is going to be dealing with this later on in life. So thanks for watching and stay tuned for more.